No, your ears are not deceiving you. That pretty gnarly buzzing is coming from this bass. It's a 78 jazz bass, which I picked up recently, and since I've got it, something's going weird with it. Something with the input jack. So I'm going to take it apart and see if I can figure out what's going wrong with it and see if it can be fixed. Alright, so I got the jazz bass here on the bench. Let's take it apart and see if we can figure out what's going on with it. Now, if you like instruments, then you know there's something special about vintage instruments. But there's also a lot of things that suck with vintage instruments, and the reliability is one of those things. The necks are funky, the electronics can be quirky, and it's just a thing. Oh, look at that. I think almost instantly I know what the problem is. See this? This is a ground wire, and that should be attached. I'm guessing whoever had installed this before had this big old heaping glob of solder, and I bet that's where it was attached from, but at some point somebody took this off, or even just from being old, and it came apart from there. So I bet you that's exactly what's going on. So I'll get my soldering iron and we'll resolder that to that connection point and see if that doesn't fix it. And if you can see this wire here, it's kind of there's not a lot of it sticking out, so I'm gonna get my clippers here and just prime it a little bit. Take a little bit of that off to get a little bit more of the wire exposed. There we go. If you could see that there, a lot more of the wire is exposed, so I'll be able to prime that with a little bit of solder so that when I actually connect it to that point, it should go on a lot easier. So my soldering iron's heating up. Now yeah, this, like I was saying a minute ago, jazz basses, or vintage basses in particular, are super cool, but they're definitely quirky. If you've watched my previous video where I shielded my 78 P bass, that one, again, it had noise issues, and especially for the 1970s, these things are just notorious for having poor quality control. But this bass, it definitely has, it has the sound. I mean, you plug it in and it's instantly in that Marcus Miller range for sounds and things. Not that I'm trying to be like Marcus or even am remotely like Marcus, but it definitely gets you there. And it's cool, man. It feels good. It has a nice sound, and I enjoy playing it. So ultimately, that's what matters. I don't necessarily buy into vintage basses are better by any means, but a good bass is a good bass, and sometimes they were made in 1978, and sometimes they're made nowadays. Okay, the soldering iron's not hot enough, so we're going to give it just another moment or two. It'll be cranking pretty soon. Okay, so there we go. Now it's hot enough. And we're just going to get this wire primed. And so you want to do this and put just a little bit of solder on the wire. You can see there it has a little bit. That way when you actually go to connect it, it heats up with the other solder quite a bit faster, and it actually just adheres a little bit better when you prime your wires. Add just a little bit of solder down here. Maybe fill out that point there. And then we'll add this. And I don't like that solder joint, so we're gonna let's fix that a little bit. There we go. And that's soldered back where it should go. All right. Now, granted, I am certainly no professional with this. I do my own repair work, at least what's in my capabilities. So, if that is not the most beautiful soldering job that you've ever seen, well, I'm not a professional, and I'm not claiming to be. But if I can get my stuff working how it should be, then that's good enough for me. And right now, let's get this back together and see if it's going to fix it. So we'll put that in. And this base is kind of cool. When I got it, it did not have the original electronics. It actually has some old school DiMaggio pickups. And if you know the story of Marcus Miller and his 77 jazz bass, then you know that the work originally was done by Roger Sadowski, who put Stars preamp and some other work he had done over the years. But the fun thing is Sadowski pickups are actually made by DiMaggio, to my understanding. And so this already sort of has some of that connection going on. But anyway, let's get this plugged in and see what's going on. Alright, so the bass is put back together, and if you notice, that horrible buzzing is gone. Now if I let my hands off the strings, you'll notice there's a tiny bit, but touch them, it goes away, or touch the control plate, it goes away. So I am going to have to shield this eventually to just take care of some of that extra noise that I'm having. But the big problem is definitely taken care of. So if you're having issues like that, you might check the ground wire and see if it's something that can be soldered back pretty easily. As always, thanks for watching.